What if I told you the world's biggest pizza delivery empire was built on a bet, a broken down car, and a recipe that customers once hated? Imagine risking everything for a promise. Hot pizza at your door in 30 minutes or less. But what happens when that promise nearly destroys the company? This is the untold story of how Domino's went from the brink of disaster to global domination, one bold move at a time. It was 1960 in a small town of Ypsilanti, Michigan. Two brothers, Tom and James Monaghan, took a gamble that would change everything. They poured what little they had into a tiny, struggling pizzeria called Dominick's. With almost no money and even less experience, their first year was a brutal fight for survival. The dream was already fading, especially when James decided he was out. But Tom saw something no one else did. In a move of pure desperation and unshakable faith, he traded his only car to buy his brother's share, staking his entire future on a simple dough recipe and a radical vision. What was the vision? To make pizza delivery the very soul of the business. In 1965, he sealed this new destiny by renaming the shop Domino's Pizza. The iconic 3 dots on the logo weren't just a design. They were a bold promise, symbolizing his burning ambition to open 3 stores. What began as a last-ditch effort in a forgotten corner of Michigan was about to explode as the first franchise opened in 1967, igniting a global phenomenon. A single audacious promise became their weapon. Hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, guaranteed. This wasn't just a clever line for advertisement, it was the very engine of the company. To honor this pact, Tom Monaghan transformed his pizzerias into launch pads. He tore out the seating, seeing dine-in customers as distractions. Store locations were chosen with the precision of a military strategist, placed at the heart of neighborhoods for one reason alone: rapid deployment. This legendary delivery promise made Domino's an icon, the instant answer for time-crunch families and ravenous college students. But the relentless ticking of the clock had a dark side. As the franchise exploded, the immense pressure to meet the 30-minute deadline began to fracture the system, leading to a devastating trail of vehicle accidents and legal battles. The guarantee that had built the empire was now its greatest liability, forcing the company to finally retract it in the US, and yet the ghost of a promise lingered. The guarantee was gone, but the reputation for speed was unbreakable, and Domino's obsession with innovating delivery had only just begun. On top of that, in the early 2000s, Domino's was confronted with a devastating, industry-shaking truth. Their own customers despised their pizza. From the scathing online reviews to the brutal honesty of blind taste tests, the verdict was damaging because Domino's was dead last. Faced with ruin, most companies would retreat. But Domino's chose a path no one else saw coming. They decided to do the unthinkable and confess their failure to the entire nation. The year was 2009, the campaign a pizza turnaround. But this was no ordinary marketing blitz. They broadcast the most brutal customer complaints for all to see, right before unveiling their secret weapon, a completely new recipe. It was a gamble of epic proportions, an act of radical transparency. And the payoff? It was legendary. The public perception didn't just shift. It was completely reborn, igniting a firestorm of renewed interest and a massive surge in sales. In the end, Domino's didn't just save their business, they rewrote the rules, proving to the world that the most powerful comebacks is forged in honesty, built on humility, and fueled by listening to the very voices that once condemned you. But what if reinventing the pizza was never the endgame? What if it was merely the opening salvo? The perfect cover for a real revolution. While the world debated toppings, A second war was being waged in the silent, invisible world of data and code. As early as 2004, Domino's was secretly forging a second empire. They didn't just launch online orders, they unleashed the now legendary pizza tracker, a masterstroke of transparency that turned the agony of waiting into an addictive, real-time spectacle. Seamless mobile apps followed, placing the power of their entire operations into the palm of your hand. But they didn't stop there. They pushed into uncharted territory, colonizing new frontiers of convenience. They empowered customers to summon a meal with a single text, a spoken command, or even a cryptic emoji, transforming a simple purchase into an act of effortless, almost magical power. Today, the results of the silent conquest are staggering. Over 85% of all sales in the United States flow not through a phone call, but through a digital kingdom. Their Anywhere campaign wasn't just marketing. It was an audacious promise that they could reach you on any device anywhere. And to complete the dominion, the fortressing strategy saturated the physical world, planting stores so densely that lightning-fast delivery and effortless carryout became the undeniable reality. Domino's didn't just change their recipe, they rewired the very DNA of modern convenience, proving that the future doesn't belong to the best chef, but to the master architect who controls the system. But what if pizza was just the beginning? What if their true genius wasn't in the kitchen, but in a calculated chaos of marketing and civil engineering? What does a pizza company have to do with civil engineering? In 2018, they unleashed an operation so strange, so disconnected from their business, it bordered on the absurd. Well, what do? They began paving roads. Under the banner of Paving Pizza, Domino's crews descended upon towns across America, filling potholes. It was a breathtaking act of psychology warfare disguised as a community service. They weren't just fixing asphalt. They were hardwiring their brand into the very concept of a perfect, uninterrupted delivery. While their rivals were still debating on coupons, Domino's were conquering the physical world, ensuring their product's journey was flawless. But this was not their only front. They declared total war on the very notion of value, drawing a line in the sand and openly challenging the titans of fast food with aggressive bundle pricing. It was a direct assault, a public shaming to the competitors' costs. This is the secret to their unyielding reign, a calculated triad of brazen honesty, subversive humor, and a relentless, almost fanatical obsession with the customer's experience. They haven't just stayed on top of the pizza game, they have rewritten the very laws of marketing gravity, proving that the boldest move is the one that no one else would dare to make. But let's not get fooled into thinking this was simple. This journey was a brutal war, fought on every front. Economic storms rage, threatening to capsize the entire enterprise. The relentless tide of rising costs sought to drown them. And from the shadows, the titans like Pizza Hut and Papa John's waged a fierce and unending siege, desperate to reclaim a throne they believed was theirs by right. Yet, Domino's fought back, not with shields, but with weapons no one else dared to yield. They unleashed their franchise, transforming them into a decentralized army of empowered entrepreneurs. They embrace innovation not as a choice, but as a religion. And most powerfully, they held up their own past failures like a battle standard, a constant, terrifying reminder of the price of standing still. The result, not just survival, it was an absolute global conquest. Today, more than 21,000 stores stand like flags planted on a conquered territory, spread across over 90 countries. In 2024, their global sales reached a staggering, almost unbelievable $19.1 billion. The Domino saga is more than a story. It is a raw, undeniable testament etched into history of business. It is the ultimate proof that in the face of ruin, the only path forward is through risk, reinvention, and transparency so radical it borders madness. It is the story of how a failing company didn't just climb from its grave, it rose to rule the world.